Hello my dear YouTuber friends, and I do hope you're all keeping well. Welcome to this new video on the V1 Flightstick, my few months later review and update. How has the Flightstick been holding up? Am I still enjoying it? Have I encountered issues with it? I'll be talking about all that in this video. The good, the bad, or the not so good. And I can't say the ugly, particularly in relation to this Flightstick. It's definitely not ugly. So the indifference, or the indifferent, things that people like and things that other people don't like. So the good, the bad, and the indifferent. I'll also be talking about additional features that have come out or have been released for this Flightstick since its original release. And also be talking about opportunities for further features that could do well for this Flightstick. And that will be all neatly segregated for you in the timeline below. If you look below, I've divided it into different sections. But I do urge you to watch this video through. Okay, let's not dilly-dally. Let's get on with this video. So let's concentrate first upon the things that I really like and have really found valuable using this Flightstick over the past few months. First one's a simple one. It's this armrest here and the texture on the Flightstick. When you got your hand here, that is so comfortable. You don't have any strain on your hands. Obviously, this is height adjustable and you can flip it. I'll show you a picture of that on screen. Flip it to the other side if you're left-handed. Let's take it off screen. Obviously, I'm ambidextrous, so I can use both hands, but I tend to fly right-handed. When you've got your hand on that, you can stay there for hours, and it's a lovely textured feeling to the stick itself. It's got a lovely texture on the actual Flightstick, and it's just so comfortable. So have it to an adjustable height. That's obviously an adjustable height. Have it to the height that suits you. And you can just keep it there for hours. Majorly comfortable. Simple design. A simple feature of the Flightstick. One that's probably overlooked if you're looking to buy the Flightstick. But don't overlook that. On Huddison or Flightsticks in this price range, you actually rarely find that sort of armrest or a usable rest for your arm, shall we say, or one that's comfortable. But that is just a great feature. Another great feature I like is the actual stiffness. I know I'm going to come across this, talk about this in the indifferent part as well, but it's the stiffness of the stick itself. I find generally Flightsticks and Huddison, especially within this price range, are a bit too loose, a bit too easy to move, especially when you're flying aircraft. I do prefer that stiff stick stiffness feeling, but others may not, and I'll come onto that later, but I like it. Another feature I like is the trim wheel. It's very rare, if ever, that you find a trim wheel on a Flightstick or Huddison, particularly within this price range. So let's say about the £100 price range. Very rare indeed, and that is brilliant. It's got a lovely feel to the trim. It's small, but it has a nice feel, nice resistance on it as well, just about the right resistance, and it's brilliant to use. There's a couple of bad things around this area, which I'll get into at the moment. Of course, you have two hat switches close together, which is fantastic as well. Another feature I like, and that I found that has been useful over the past few months, is this throttle. It's got a nice range. Now, this can be an indifferent feature for some people as well, because it's only a small throttle, and you do get two of them. I'll come on to that in a moment. What I do like about this are the detents, one down and one up that you can use. Gonna link a video in the description about me using the flight stick with other games. With Elite Dangerous in particular, I found these detents to be mightily useful. I think I used that one to toggle my forward thrust so I can thrust backwards. And I used that one for boost, and it just works well. If you're in Flight Sim, you could use that for afterburner. You could use that for toggle reverse thrust. It's got a nice detent. You're not going to click that accidentally. If you click that, you're going to be in reverse thrust and just thrust forward to reverse. These just work so well. And I may do a video with that particular feature in more detail at a future date, but I like that. The fact that you've got two of them in Flight Simulator, typically I'm using my mixture mouse. Beside from throttle, mixture would be the one that I'll next use, and that's mightily handy, even in something like the Cessna 172 or Beaver or DC-3. Have that set to your mixture, and that works well. Very unusual that you'll find two throttles on a flight stick or HOTAS within this price range as well. So I do like that feature. Another thing I really like is the lighting system. That's an indifferent. Some people don't like those LEDs, and that could come also within the additional features bracket, which I'll talk about later. But I do like the LED scheme and that you can change them. I think it just makes the whole flight stick look that bit more premium. Another thing I like as well, and I'll talk about this in more detail later, is the form factor, the size of the flight stick as well, and in fact that all controls are close together. That's good and bad, which I'll talk about in a moment, but mainly in a good way. I like that everything's at hand and is easy to reach, particularly if you're using VR. I use VR with Elite Dangerous, and everything is at hand. Usually I'm using two hands, but everything I can just find straight away, and I'm not fumbling around in the dark, so to speak, because I know where the buttons are. It's got such a great form factor as well. Those are just some of the things that I've enjoyed over the past few months. Let's talk about things that I've not enjoyed. Let's talk about some, well, one or two of the features that are not so good. Okay, so I've talked about things that I like about this flight stick and that I've liked over the past few months. Let's talk about things that have not been so good, things that I don't really like. I was talking about this with old Gunner back in the day. When you're trimming, these buttons beside this trim wheel are too easy to initiate or activate. So when you're trimming, especially when you've not got your eyes on your flight stick, I've not got Flight Simulator up at the moment, but you've got your eyes on the screen, these buttons are too easy to activate. I think this by default is actually your autopilot. So when I was first using it, trimming, I would activate this button by accident. My aircraft would be in autopilot. I was wondering what would happen, and realised that I would have to click it again. Essentially, I've had to unassign these two buttons, and it's a missed feature, really, from a Turtle Beach. You could have had these a little bit, maybe concave, maybe curved up a bit, and a bit more difficult to activate. I mean, they're really, really sensitive. It's difficult to... hope you can see that. Really sensitive. So easy to activate that I've had to actually unassign these two buttons, which is missing real estate on the flight stick. Yes, you have all these other buttons, including these two. I've usually got these for menu and pause and goodness knows what and different things in Flight Sim, but in Elite Dangerous I've got that as horizontal thrust. In Flight Sim I've got these two set, these two buttons here, for increased sim rate and decrease. So there's buttons, plenty of other buttons on the flight stick, but you're missing the real estate on these two. If these were curved up a little bit either side, maybe in future revisions, Turtle Beach, that could be a good idea. Because at the moment, I just have these unassigned. I could probably assign those two buttons for lights or something that's not a vital feature in the aircraft. So if I do activate them, it's not going to be a big thing. But certainly I would advise unassigning autopilot from this one and whatever that one's assigned to by default. Unassign them to non-vital features because they're too easy to activate when you're trimming. Another thing that I've not really enjoyed or found useful in the sim is this touchpad feature. Now with the FMD you can actually, where is it? Touchpad, I'll just get to it for you. Touchpad sensitivity. So I've actually got mine turned all the way down, which effectively turns that touchpad off. Obviously when I'm on PC I'm using a mouse. I'll attach a mouse to my Series S as well when I'm using it. For those who don't like using mouse in flight sims or are having difficulty, it's a useful feature. It needs a bit more fleshing out and development for it to be really useful. It is a useful feature, particularly on the PC version if you don't like using a mouse. I just generally have that turned on. I found no use for it. And again, it kind of feels like missing real estate for the flight stick. Another thing, let's talk about some of... Those are really the only bad things about the flight stick, or things that I found not useful. And yeah, not so good. Let's talk about the indifference now. Things that people like and things that people don't like. With this stick, with this hat switch, so H2, by default that's look around your aircraft. So if you're in the sim, you can look around internally and externally. When you do that, you can't use your mouse any longer to look around. If you don't like that feature, go into your flight sim control options and just delete any assignment for that hat 2. You can assign it for something else and then you can use your mouse. I've kept it. I like to look around with this H2 and I can use H1 for things like controlling my heading bug, and I can use up and down for something else. So I like the fact that you have 2 hat switches and that's assigned by default to look around internally and externally smoothly in your aircraft. But that's an indifferent feature. Some people like it, some people don't like it. I've talked about this before, but the stiffness of the stick, a lot of people just don't like that. Now I'll come into this, I'll talk about this in more detail when I talk about the additional features that have come out for the flight stick since its release. I like it. There is a way of toning down. If that's too stiff for you, your aircraft's not reacting, you can actually just change a profile, which I'll show you later, which will make, if you move the stick left or right, your aircraft's going to respond immediately. There's no way of adjusting that tension, and I'm thankful for that. It's just the right tension for me. But some people don't like that. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'm sure you will if you don't like that. There's not many more features that I can talk about there. I could talk... Oh, yes, there is. There's one more. I almost forgot about that. It's the throttle side, and I'll talk about this with additional features that may be forthcoming. There's whispers and rumours about a new throttle or a separate throttle for the flight stick. Talk about that in more detail later. People don't like the size of the throttles themselves. I think they've got a good range. I'm not missing an extra throttle. I will link a video down below where I've attached a Logitech throttle, just on a Logitech throttle quadrant to this. That works well on the PC version of Microsoft Flight Sim. So if you want a big throttle, you can use the Logitech throttle quadrant alongside with this. Like I said, there's probably something forthcoming from Turtle Beach, hopefully in the not too distant future. I'll leave that for a little bit later. I don't mind the size of the throttle, and the fact that you got detents on both of these, I think it's a fantastic feature for a flight stick within this price range. But the size of the throttles is an indifferent feature, let's say. Some people like them, some people don't. I actually quite like them, but some people don't. Let me know down below in the description. Like I said, those are the only things. I've talked about the things that I don't like and the indifferent things. The indifferent things, the hat switches, the stiffness, the throttles, I actually like. Some people don't. But let's now talk about additional features that have come out for the flight stick and things that, shall we call them, room for improvement for the flight stick. Okay, so now let's move on to additional features that have come out for the flight stick since it's been released. and areas for improvement. One of the things I do like is this mobile app. I'm going to link any video any feature that I'm talking about here. I'll link the appropriate video in the description. So anything I'm going to talk about in this video, I'll link the appropriate video for you down in the description in case you've not seen them. With this mobile companion app, if you've got a smartphone, via Bluetooth, you can connect your smartphone to the Velocity 1 flight stick. And I'm in the colour thing, why not change it? So I'm in the sort of blue and green scheme here on my flight stick. I want to change that. Is that pink and orange? I think that's pink and orange. There you go. It's changed the colour scheme, or pink and red. Pink and orange, isn't it? Let me know down in the description what colour is that. I think it's pink and orange. I'm going a bit colourblind. How about all yellow? Yeah, it changes it, it's fine. And we go to the C1. I think that's blue and orange. So there we go. I like the C2 colour scheme mainly. So that's blue and green. So there you go. But it's a nice feature. Bit of a missed opportunity. Hopefully this will be coming in a later firmware. It'll be nice to choose our own colour. Maybe have a bespoke wheel somewhere down here. You can change the brightness, and you can even turn this off, by the way, if you don't like the LEDs for some reason. So all options are there. Beside from the bespoke colour scheme, if you can choose our own colour, have a sort of thing where we can just choose our own colour. I would like it all bright red, for example. I think it's just a missed opportunity so far, but hopefully that will be coming soon. I mentioned before, let's see, stick responsiveness. If this stiff, if you're finding it too stiff, especially if you're flying fighter jets, within the stick responsiveness, put it on fast. And I'll just move the stick left and right. Just with small movements, you're going to be moving a lot more quicker and a lot more fluidly. I'll put it back on standard. That's why I have it mostly for flight sims, because I'm flying GA aircraft. But you can change the sort of stick responsiveness there. So it's a nice feature. Go and watch the video I've linked down in the description for more detail on this mobile app. They didn't have to release that Turtle Beach, but they did. And with a couple more features that could be absolutely fantastic. But I am enjoying what it offers so far. Another thing it offers, and I've linked this video down in the description as well, via a wire, a cable, you can use the Velocity 1 rudder pedals with your Series S or X with the flight stick. So not only can you use the rudder pedals with the Velocity 1 flight yacht system, you've now got the option of actually using it with the flight stick. It's a first for Turtle Beach with the Xbox platform. You need the, Thrustmaster Huddison 1 to use the Thrustmaster rudder pedals. I believe you need the XPC yoke, the Honeycomb XPC yoke, to use the forthcoming Charlie rudder pedals. You've got two options with the Velocity 1 rudder pedals now, either the flight stick or the rudder pedals. And this offers more options for upgrades in the future. Yes, these are double the price of the flight stickers as well currently, but if you want to upgrade, if you've got your mind on getting a set of rudder pedals in the future and you want a good set of rudder pedals, a professional set of rudder pedals, I highly recommend the Velocity 1 rudder pedals. You've got that option if you want to go a bit further and get the flight stand. So you can put your Velocity 1 flight stick on the flight stand and have your rudder pedals there as well. Maybe I'll do a future video of using the Velocity 1 rudder pedals with the flight stick for helicopters. That's a fantastic option. So you've got all those upgrade options that you can do. Let's talk about the most obvious, hopeful coming feature for the Velocity 1 flight stick. That will be a separate throttle quadrant. There are whispers and rumours of a throttle quadrant coming out for the Velocity 1 flight stick. Hopefully that's soon, and hopefully it's appropriately priced. A good price for the throttle quadrant, I believe, would be around the £80 mark. That would be a fantastic price, but no more than £100 mark. If it's much more expensive than the flight stick, itself, that's kind of defeating the purpose. It's got to be appropriately flight. No doubt from Turtle Beach it's going to be a fantastic throttle quadrant when it arrives. When it does arrive, you've pretty much got the best HOTAS system. I'm going to say that even before its release, within that price range. If it's around the £100 mark, that's going to be difficult to beat, and I can imagine it's going to have a lot of features. I'm very excited, as a lot of people are, for that additional throttle quadrant coming out for the Flightstick. Let me know your thoughts on that down below. Do feedback on this video, chaps. Things about the companion app, the Flightstick, its various features. How's it been holding up for you over the past few months? It's important, your feedback. It's not only my regular viewers viewing my videos, it's newcomers, people who are thinking about buying the Flightstick, and even Turtle Beach themselves. They often view my videos. Feedback, put your comments down below. Let's go straight to my conclusion, shall we? The Flightstick has held up fantastically for me over the past few months. In fact, look, let me put it this way. I've got the V1 flight yoke system. Since I've owned this Flightstick, 95% of the time, during live streams, during making videos, this is the system I'm using. I do like my Velocity 1 flight yacht system. This is like having a mini Velocity 1 flight yacht system. People wonder, you know, reviewers, are they just upping these peripherals? Are they just brown-nosing, so to speak? You know what? Like I said, 95% of the time, this is the peripheral I'm using. When it's not on my desk, I'm missing this now the most. Not just for flight simming, Elite Dangerous, Star Citizen. I've really got to play Star Wars Squadrons in VR more on my gaming laptop. That's something else I hope to do with this Flightstick. I think it will be fantastic for that as well. I can't give a higher recommendation for that. Turtle Beach, if you want to use this in upcoming promotional videos and goodness knows what's on your website, I believe this is the best flight sim peripheral released in 2022. It's one of the best on the market, full stop, and I can't give it a higher recommendation for that. It's more than held up for me. It's the peripheral that I most prefer using out of any other peripheral at the moment. So there you go. Can't give it a higher recommendation for that. Do let me know your thoughts on the video below. Give it a like if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe for more. And I'll see you soon.